Hey everybody, welcome to the workshop. Today I want to go over Yamaha MX88 keyboard slash synthesizer. I don't know if I would quite call it a synthesizer. I would call it more of a keyboard. Sort of maybe a stage piano. This is kind of my go-to. When you see me playing piano on all my videos, this is almost always what I'm using. There's some things I love about it. There's a few things I'm not real fond of. And this is probably not the perfect keyboard for everybody. For the right person, I think it's a fantastic buy. So this is not going to be a tutorial. I'm not going into all the features. I don't even use all the features. But I'll go over the main things, at least the things that are important to me, and give you my opinion on it. And for anyone thinking about maybe buying this, it might be a helpful video, whether or not it's something you want to invest in. To begin with, I kind of bought this sight unseen. I own the Yamaha MX88. Sort of look at that as the big brother to this being its little brother. And I worked part-time in a music store for 12 years, so I'm familiar with Yamaha. They make great products. They don't really make anything that's bad. So I had confidence in the Yamaha name. I had confidence in the keyboard I had before. I did a lot of research. The most important thing to me about any instrument is the touch and the sound quality. So I wanted something with the action that I wanted. And it's kind of a personal thing. Some people are going to like a different feel. This has weighted and graded hammer action keys. So it feels like a piano. To an organ player, it's probably going to feel real heavy and sluggish, and they're not going to like it. To somebody who's played keyboards with organ-type keys, they're probably not going to like it. I learned initially on piano. I played a million different digital pianos, and I really love the action. You can feel the hammer action inside. You can hear it when it's turned off. You can hear the clicking of the hammers. I really like that about it. I like that it's got some weight, makes my fingers do a little bit of work. Got a lot of control, a lot of dynamics. It's not the heaviest feel I've ever had, but it's absolutely not light. So keep that in mind if you're looking for a keyboard. If you want something that feels like an organ or like a non-hammer action keyboard, this is probably not for you. If you want something that feels like a piano, I absolutely love this. Supposedly it's graded, which means the lower keys are going to feel heavier than the higher keys like you would have on a piano. And maybe you can kind of tell a little bit, but it's not dramatic. Honestly, if I play with one hand on both sides, I can't feel a big difference. There's maybe a little difference. When I'm playing it, I don't even notice it because I've played piano before. But it's kind of a nice feature, I think. Just makes it feel really light on the top and heavier on the bottom. Again, it's not dramatic at all. So I kind of had confidence in the action, what it would be, and it turned out to be exactly what I wanted. Sound quality, it's not the same sound engine as the MOXF. So I kind of went by some of the research I did that it would sound good in by Yamaha's reputation. It's not a real cheap keyboard. I think I paid $1,100-$1,200 for it. Not expensive, but it's not real cheap. So I kind of had confidence that it would sound good. I was quite pleasantly surprised when I opened the box and plugged it in. I think out of the box this thing sounds amazing. Sounds amazing. I absolutely love the first piano that pops up, which is the Concert Grand. I think it sounds fantastic, I think. Sound and touch are both personal opinions. But in my opinion, I absolutely love the sound. Plug and play, sounds great. There's not a whole lot of editing you can do on the sounds. It does have some things you can kind of change around. Basically, it's effects. You're not going to turn your piano into an organ or something. That's why I kind of say I don't know if I'd quite call it a synthesizer. You're not going to create your own sounds from scratch or anything. You're not going to totally change the preset sounds that are on there, but the sounds that are on there sound great. 90% of the time I just use the piano. Like I said, it's the first piano that pops up, number one, the Concert Grand. There is an organ sound on there I really like. I'll kind of show you that, and I'll show you another guitar sound that I really like. It's got all the standard stuff you'd find on any keyboard. Tons of sounds built in. So you can just page through tons of stuff. I'm not even sure what's on there without looking in the owner's manual as far as how many sounds, but more than I would ever use. It's got all the standards, all the basic stuff. If I put my glasses on here, I can kind of tell you it's got a whole set of piano sounds that you can go through, a whole set of keyboard sounds, organs, guitars, basses, strings, brass, sax and woodwinds, synth lead, synth chorus, synth comp, chromatic percussion, drums and percussion, sound effects, musical effects, and ethnic. Really, all those sounds are kind of secondary to me. Like I said, I usually just use the piano, but it's fun to have them all. I like having them all just to play with once in a while. Like I said, 90% of the time I'm just playing piano. The other 9% of the time I'm using the organ. The other 1% of the time I'll play with some other sounds just for fun. So sound quality, I'm completely happy with. Accent, I'm completely happy with. It's very user-friendly. You just hit piano and you can page through all the different pianos that are on there. Got tons of them. So I found it really user-friendly. I like it for a staged piano type thing because you can just page right through everything. You don't have to do a lot of menu diving and stuff to find the pianos and stuff you want. I'll show you the face of this in a minute here. It does have, in fact, let me bring the camera over. I'll kind of show you the face while I'm going over the main features of it. So let me bring that over here. So if we kind of look at the main features by themselves, it's got 4 knobs. I like the knobs on there because it gives you like a real-time control over the sound. You can just adjust it as you're playing. You don't have to go into a menu and dial things in. It's got 3 different functions for each knob. You can see the light changing on there. So you've got assignable ones and you've got the preset ones. Just the standard stuff. Cutoff, attack, volume for that one. Resonance, decay, pan. Chorus, sustain, assignable 1. Reverb, release, and assignable 2. So it's really easy to use the effects. Volume controls right here. It's got the pitch bend. I don't know if you can see that in the camera there. Got the pitch bend wheel, modulation wheel. For the buttons, it's got transpose buttons, which are dedicated buttons. I like that. You can just transpose it quickly and easily with dedicated buttons. You don't have to menu dive for that. Octave up and down, I love that. Quite often I'll octave down it because I like the lower registers and I don't always want to have to reach to the bottom of the piano. So these are dedicated buttons for the octave up and down. I really like that feature. It does have accompaniment on it, drums and stuff, stop, play. I don't really use that ever, but it is there, right in front of you. Got utility, store, all the standard stuff for if you want to add effects or edit your sound to the extent that you can store them and use the presets. I'll get into that in a minute. I don't use that a whole lot. We'll move over to the other side here and I'll show you the rest of the buttons. So over on the other side, it's got a wheel for dialing in your sounds, which is nice. If you hit shift, it goes through the sounds really fast. If you don't hit shift, it goes through them a little slower. It's got directional buttons for next, whatever you want to use it for when you're in your menus and stuff. Just the basic buttons you would have. Over here, it's got all the different sounds on the instrument. If you hit piano, you can just dial them in really easy, quick. It will layer things, so if you want a piano and strings together, you can combine those and it'll play them together on the strings. You can also split the keyboard, so you'll have one instrument here, one down there. That's the basics of it. Like, that's kind of what I like about it, is it's simple. There's not a lot of stuff on it. It's just straightforward, so when you get on stage, you're not menu diving. So that's kind of the panel of the front of it. I think it's really easy to look at, well laid out. I don't know if this is in the view. The menu screen is quite small. Since you're not doing a lot of editing on the sounds and you're not menu diving, I don't think it needs to be any bigger, but it's not a big screen. It's just a tiny little screen there. that's pretty much the front of it. Not a lot there on the front. If we move to the back, it's got sustain pedal input, which is essential for piano. Almost every keyboard you get is going to have a sustain pedal. It does not come with sustain pedals. You got to buy them separate. I don't have a problem with that. Foot controller is a volume control that you can use. For me, that's kind of essential. I would not want to not have a volume control on my keyboards. Dedicated, I bought the Yamaha volume control and plugged it right in. It works great. My left foot's always on it. I'm using it all the time. I think it's a fantastic feature to have. Auxiliary in, which I don't use. Outputs for right and for left or left mono. I've got it in stereo right now. I don't always use it in stereo. A lot of times I'll just use it in mono, but nice to have both. And a headphone jack in the back. So you can use headphones with it. The other side of the back is power button, MIDI in and out. There's no MIDI through, but MIDI in and out. MIDI to device, or USB to device and USB to host. You can hook it up to your computer. You can also put a flash drive in there. It did come with Cubase for recording, so you can install it on your computer. You need software on your computer so that it can communicate with the keyboard, which I didn't want to install on my computer. I have no desire to hook it up to my computer. I tried Cubase. I don't want to figure it out. I'm not really into recording, so I don't really use any of that. Once in a while I'll put a flash drive in my other keyboard because if I'm doing a lot of editing, I want to store my stuff. But if you're into that, it does have those features on there. I don't use them I never use them really. So that's the back of the keyboard. That's the buttons in a nutshell anyways. It's plastic construction. It's durable plastic. I don't feel like it's cheap at all. It's not really going to break if you bump it or bang it into something. I don't think I'd want to drop it. I think it would not make a great stage piano for a full-time band situation. And this is a huge drawback, I think, to this. This is something that really bothered me about this for a long time, is the jacks on the back for the inputs and outputs and the power cord and everything are plastic. I hate that about it. Big clubs or rented theater or something, it's not going to be an issue, but in the bars and stuff where you got a lot of drunk people running around and girls dancing on the stage and stuff, they're going to be bumping into stuff, especially these cables on the back. It's going to get jammed sideways on these plastic jacks, going to break the jacks. I've never opened this up, but I'm assuming the jacks, by the looks of the front of them, are soldered to the circuit board, which means you'd have to go to Yamaha, get the right jack on the side of the jack, side of the new end into the circuit board. Hope that the circuit board doesn't get broke when someone crashes into it. Can be kind of a major operation. Also, if they get too dirty or get wore out so they don't click really well from hooking them up and unhooking them over and over again, they would need to be replaced. I've never had to clean them. I have had to mess with them a little bit once in a while if it doesn't make a great connection. So metal jacks would have been a huge plus. I don't mind the plastic case. It keeps it lighter, but these plastic jacks are kind of a drawback. So if you're looking for a bar keyboard for a full-time bar type situation, this might not be the absolute best. I use it for a stage piano in my studio. I'm absolutely in love with it for that. There are some drawbacks for certain people. I think for a kid just starting out, this is probably not the best thing to get. One, it does not come on a stand. It's just the keyboard. I wouldn't want it on a permanent stand because it's hard to move around. Even in my studio, I'm always moving it around, taking it off, rearranging things. If it's on a permanent stand, it's just hard to move around. If you're traveling with it, obviously you're not going to want it on a permanent stand. It doesn't come with any pedals. You have to buy your own. I don't think that's a problem. For beginners also, there's no speakers in this. I don't like speakers in keyboards. I think it looks tacky. They generally don't sound good. It adds weight, and it just puts unnecessary vibration in the keyboard that doesn't need to be there. So I am more than happy not to have speakers built in. But for a kid starting out, if you want this in your front room, you can use headphones. Other than that, you need an amplifier, which you probably don't want in your front room, and a kid starting out probably doesn't just have a spare amplifier sitting around. So that could be a drawback for somebody starting out. I think that would be, another thing that would be a drawback for somebody starting out like a kid is there's no music rack on it. There's nowhere to put one. I don't want a music rack on it. I think it looks tacky in a rock band situation. It just looks horrible to have a music stand on your keyboard. If you're playing classical music or something, you can get away with it, but it looks bad on stage. Plus, it gets in the way. I can't see the audience as good, and they can't see me as good if I got a music rack in the way. So I personally don't like to have the music rack on there. I do have music stands I can set up if I need to use music. But in your front room, having all this stuff out there, music stands and amplifiers and all this stuff, it's not a great front room keyboard. So I don't think it would be very good for a kid. I think it'd be great for a church because it's easy to use, it sounds great. You're probably not going to need the speakers in the church because you probably have a sound system. The missing music rack could be an issue in a church. You'd have to use a music stand or memorize your music. I think I would give this rating-wise 9 out of 10 stars. The only reason I would draw the stars back is because of these plastic jacks. That's my biggest complaint, is the plastic jacks. Another thing that I don't like about it is I wish it had a way to order your sounds, so that if you're in a band, you can just hit next, next, next. Say you got 60 songs that your band does, and you want to just page through song 1 to song 2 to song 3. Maybe your first one you're using a piano, the second one you might be using this organ, the next one you're using a certain string, then you're using a different piano, then you're using an organ. And as your songs change in the band, you might be using different sounds. I'd like to just be able to hit next, 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 order them ahead of time. That would be a great feature to have. If I had just one user bank where I could put things in the order that I wanted, or if I had favorites where I could put things in the order that I wanted. It doesn't have that. That would be my second complaint. Not a big deal breaker by any means, because they are easy to find in here. So there's 2 drawbacks I guess I would have for it. For me, it's a personal opinion. Like I said, for a personal studio stage piano, if you will, I absolutely love it. I'd be happy to use it in a band. Like I said, if you're playing in a bar, these plastic jacks would drive me up the wall. Not really expensive. Like I said, I paid $1,100-$1,200 for it. Absolutely love it. No complaints. I don't know what I'm missing, but I'm not intending to cover everything. So hopefully this is a little bit helpful to you if you are thinking about the MX88, Yamaha MX88. I think for the price point, it's a fantastic keyboard. You're not paying $5,000 for a stage piano here, but you're also not paying $400 for a toy. The action's fantastic. I think that sounds great, and it's fun to play. My go-to piano. That's my 2 cents. I probably skipped a lot of stuff that would be helpful to know, but there's more stuff out there from people who are better at tutorials than I am. If you really want to dig into what this thing is capable of, it does do a lot more than I've talked about, but that's the basics of it. It's what I use it for. I love it. Hit subscribe down there. I'll always give you my honest opinion anyways, and what I don't know, and I'm happy to admit that, and the things I do know, and that's what I know about this, and that's what I like about it, and the few things that I don't like about it. So hit subscribe, and we will see you next time on the workshop. Appreciate you. Bye-bye.